welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Big Blend Radio's second Tuesday food, wine, and travel show with the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. That is a mouthful, so we call them IFTWA. So you can check them out at ifwtwa.org. If you travel and you're in the travel writing industry, or if you're a destination, you're going to want to check them out. And I follow them on social media because if you want to see places around the world, across the country, go to hashtag IFWTWA. And you're just going to, that's a bunch of armchair travel and great place to start planning your next adventure. And that's what we're doing now. We are going to Louisiana's Cajun and Creole country, the heart of it. And we're going to go to what's known as the happiest city in America. So why not, man? Don't we want that? Especially in the winter. We get crabby in the winter when it gets cold. So we better go to the happy land. So we're going to go to Lafayette, Louisiana. We're going to chat with Ben Berthelot, who is the president and CEO of the Lafayette Convention and Visitor Commission. So go to LafayetteTravel.com. Welcome back, Ben. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great.
Hey, it's been a while. I think it's been a few years since you've been on the show. That's just bad. We need to have you back on more often because it seems like your region, no matter what, it just keeps, you guys just keep partying on, right? No matter what happens.
That's right. Laissez les bon temps rouler, let the good times roll is one of the big sayings down here where we work hard and play hard. And certainly the fall and the spring are always our busiest time of the year, but we have some big festivals coming up. Probably the biggest one is Mardi Gras. We have the second largest Mardi Gras in the state, a very family-friendly Mardi Gras. And this year, or I should say next year, Mardi Gras is going to be February 21st. It's always a Tuesday, Fat Tuesday. But there's so many events around Mardi Gras. We actually kick off our festivities on February 10th, which is a Friday night with a little walking parade. And then Saturday night we have another parade on the 11th called Rio, and then we take a week off and come back on Friday the 17th and the 18th and 19th all the way through Mardi Gras Day. So it really is a great time to be in our area. Lots of live music in the dance halls and venues, and of course our great food that we're known for as well.
Well, this is important because when you talk about February now, right? I mean, this is, we're airing this November 2nd, the second Tuesday. And when we think about Mardi Gras and you think of like New Orleans, everybody immediately thinks New Orleans. And I always want to say, like, there's Mardi Gras, all these different places. You're the second largest. When should people start booking hotel rooms when you think about it being the second largest Mardi Gras in the country or in the state?
Well, it's never too early to start booking. I would say the weekend before Mardi Gras is always our busiest time. So if you're planning on coming in the 17th or the 18th, and start working on those plans. But we do have a good bit of inventory. We have around 5,000 hotel rooms. And one of the great things about our area is that not only do you have the second largest Mardi Gras in the state, but we also have the Cajun country Mardi Gras experience, the Career de Mardi Gras, which is unlike anything you've ever seen in the rural areas surrounding Lafayette Parish. And we actually get on a horseback and chase after chicken as an ingredient for the gumbo, and everybody's masked up. So not just the traditional Mardi Gras that you think of when you see, on television, with the floats rolling. We certainly have that, but we also have a lot more, and it's a great time in our area. We're also a very affordable destination, so there's no minimum night stays in our area, no fees for parking, all of those things that you would see in a larger town. And I always tell people, to your point earlier, you've got to go to New Orleans at least one time to experience Mardi Gras there. But after you do that, and particularly if you're looking for a budget-friendly Mardi Gras, family-friendly Mardi Gras, we invite you to come down to Lafayette and experience the happiest city in America.
Now, do you really say Lafayette or is it Laffy? Because I got friends that always call it, I'm going to Laffy. Is that what we're supposed
We
to
say
say?
Lafayette.
Okay.
That's it.
Because
Yeah.
well, maybe they're just, you are the happiest city, so Laffy sounds
Right.
good that goes with it.
What exactly? What's interesting is I think there's around 50 Lafayettes cities in America, and we like to hope and think that we're the most well known. Of course, there's Lafayette, Indiana. I'll tell you a quick funny story. I got a call one time from their visitor center, and they said, "Man, we keep getting calls for people who are looking for you guys, and so much to that
Hmm.
we have to have your number on the desk at our visitor center." And I was so impressed by that. I thought that was the neatest thing. So yes, we have Lafayette, as in laugh, as you mentioned, the happiest city in America. But you can pronounce us however you like, as long as you come visit.
Well, listen, I think I even like messed up your last name. I said Berthelot, and like I'm thinking, okay, that's not British, that's Berthelot, or so even that. I mean, this is the whole thing when you go to Louisiana or Louisiana, right? It
Right.
this is a just this beautiful. It's a gumbo of culture and happiness. I think Louisiana is, I don't know what it is, but like you guys, like your whole state has stolen our hearts and made us like happy people because it's just so real and authentic, and there's just you can just really let your hair down and you can have a good time in so many ways. And I mean it legally, by the way, everybody,
Right.
when I say that, and family friendly. And I think that's something to really be celebrated is, it takes me back to my childhood in South Africa, where you'd go to like a neighbor's house and the whole family, like the whole neighborhood basically would be together, hanging out together, kids, dogs, horses, grandma, grandpa, uncles. I mean, teenage, everybody hangs out together in a way that I think we kind of miss out sometimes in this country. And I think Louisiana has that. And does Lafayette have it that way too? I mean, if you're happy, it's got to be, everyone's got to be together, all ages.
Well, I love that you recognize that. And first, let me say it is Berthelot. Surprisingly, it should be
Oh,
Berthelot
oh,
because we
la di
do have a
da.
French. We do have a very strong French connection, and around 25% of our people still speak French. And we have French tables where you can pop in with the locals and just sit down and listen and speak French. But for some reason, over the years, we became Berthelot. But when I go to France or I go to Canada or any French-speaking area, I always say Je m'appelle Benjamin Berthelot because that's probably what it should be. But back to what you were talking about in terms of family fun, there's no question. We just hosted Festival Acadian and Creole, which is the largest free Cajun and Zydeco festival in the world, and just to have all the families out there, and it's really a place where if you're at a dance hall or if you're at a festival, and there's music being played, somebody's going to come ask you to dance, and that's just what happens on a regular basis here. Really, our people are our greatest asset, and as I mentioned earlier, they really work hard and play hard. But another great thing about our area is that we're known as the hub city because when visitors come to an area, they don't really care about. For us, we have city and parish lines, not counties. But you just want to have a good time, so you'll cross a parish line and not even worry about it because you want to go have a good time. So 20 minutes away, we have the Atchafalaya Basin, which is the largest swamp
Mm,
in North America. Great kayaking and canoeing and birding. We have about 35 minutes away Tabasco, which is on every island, which
yeah.
is the only place in the world where Tabasco is bottled aid on a daily basis, and they have a great visitor experience. So much to do, not only in the city but also in the region. And I encourage everybody to check out LafayetteTravel.com and explore all the opportunities, and then book your flight or get in your car and come see us. And as we approach the holiday season, we have our Cajun and Creole Christmas. It's a great time to be in our area. Probably our most famous event is the Noël Acadien au Village, which takes place at Acadian Village December 2nd through 23rd, and that's a really an unbelievable display of lights, all within a living history museum that depicts the life of the Acadian people back in the 18th century. And so that's always a
Oh,
great time. We also have in the heart of our city a new property called Monkus Park, which is 100 acres, much like Central Park in New York City, right in the middle of town. And they have a up and coming Christmas programming all throughout the week and during December.
cool.
So a lot going on. And then if we move into the spring, I mentioned Mardi Gras, but also I want to mention Festival International de Louisiane, which is the world's largest free francophone festival every April. And
Hmm.
we have French-speaking bands from all over the world who come in And another great thing about our area, I talked about affordability earlier, but all of our festivals, the majority of our festivals are free. And so when you talk about being on a budget, and we all are on a budget to some extent, it's great that you can come in and not have to pay to enter a festival. And all of our major festivals are free.
And that's too, because you're also saying like, parking, some areas are free and stuff too. And I think that's, for families, that's a huge deal. Like, and, you all of a sudden you're paying $100 to get in a festival and then paying for the food and the parking and everything on top, for a family,
Right.
all those little, breaks and, help, so I think that's fantastic. And I love that you're having all these festivals that celebrate culture and, the history and the arts. I think that's so important because we don't want to lose those in the world. And, that's keeping cultures alive. And I think that's what Louisiana does so well is be so authentic to who Louisiana is, who the people are, and the land. And you mentioned the swamp, which is something Nancy and I, and Nancy says hi, by the way. And she's she's publishing a
Tell her
magazine,
hello.
but yeah, she, the two of us still need to come hang out in the swamp. And I wanted to mention this because, we think about all our friends up north in the winter, I know about that shoveling snow and nobody should need to do that, but it happens and people have to do it. But like if you can come south to the south and go to Lafayette, right? And get in the swamp, you're going to still have a chill in the morning, right? But you can still go out and experience wildlife and bird watching and in a way, if you want to see gators, from my experience, this is a good time. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about Louisiana in the winter. I don't think I've done that much in the winter in Louisiana, but from being in
Well,
Florida and some of the swamps in Georgia
yeah.
and stuff in the
Well,
winter, it seems good.
yes. I mean, we do have it does get colder, but nowhere near. We have a lot of snowbirds that come down to get away from the cold up north. And what's interesting about our area in Louisiana in general is we don't really have the four seasons like most places. We don't have fall, winter, uh, winter, spring, uh, summer, and fall. We don't have the five seasons, but we have our seasons based on food. So we have crawfish season, gumbo season, crab season, and shrimp season, and that's how we like to sell it. And based on what time you come,
You're like
it's
sitting there
it's
going,
it's
what's
based on
spring, what's summer? That's so funny because you're sitting there going, what,
yeah.
what are the seasons again? Like, really, I just know
So
food. Like, that's funny. That's
yeah,
fantastic.
and in the wintertime is always when gumbo season kicks in, and
Ooh,
we have so many great options for gumbo. And then in January, crawfish season starts. So crawfish season actually lasts from January into June, and that's really a neat experience for people to have a boiled crawfish if they've never had it. And we have
mm,
some great restaurants that serve the boiled crawfish and crab and oysters and all the different foods that we're known for. Lafayette was named the tastiest town of the South by Southern Living magazine and the
ooh,
best food city in the United States by Rand McNally and USA Today. And so that's something we're very proud of. Won a lot of different food awards, and we always deliver on that. But in addition, we haven't really talked too much about the music. We're the
ooh.
birthplace of Cajun and Zydeco music. We have live music at least 6 nights a week, sometimes seven. And so it's
And
as you
Zydeco
mentioned, I think the
breakfast.
and
Zydeco
Zydeco
breakfast.
breakfast
I've not
in
experienced that yet.
Brobridge.
Ooh,
Oh, it's
ooh.
unbelievable. It really is an incredible, not only awesome food, but great music and people dancing on the dance floor. But you used the word authentic earlier, and I love that term, and it probably gets overused, but
Mm.
we really truly say that this is an area where you can become immersed in the culture. So we don't just talk about it, or you don't have to go to a museum to learn about our culture. All you have to do is go to a dance hall or go to a festival, and you become immersed in it. And I think that's one of the things that separates us from other destinations is that opportunity. As I mentioned earlier, you can speak French with the locals, you can go dance with the locals, you can eat with the locals, and very hospitable, as you mentioned earlier, and something we're very proud of.
When you think about like the food, gumbo, everybody's like, ooh, and Tabasco, right? That's a huge deal. I know a travel writer, Linda Kassam, years ago went out to Lafayette and came back with a ice cream recipe with Tabasco in it. And I'm like, now that's my kind of thing. This is cool,
Right.
So
Yep.
that's something a little different. But when the Zydeco breakfast, I've seen pictures and seen some videos on your website, and I'm jealous, and we will come. But I want to know, what are we eating for breakfast? I mean, what's happening at Zydeco breakfast for the music? Number one, we should have music in the morning. I am a big believer that when you wake up in the morning, you can do, maybe go for a jog, have some spiritual meditation time. But if you blast some good music, your day is set. And so this whole Zydeco breakfast thing to me sounds like the perfect way to kick off a day. So you got the music, but what are we eating?
Well, you probably start off with a little Bloody Mary, with a little bit
Okay,
of Tabasco spice in there,
cool.
and then you got a Cajun eggs Benedict. You have a
Oh,
crawfish omelet. It goes on and on. Just really unique food
ooh.
and great food, all while you're listening to some of the best music in the world, and really an upbeat music. And as you mentioned, what a great way to start the day and keep it going.
No, you've got the song that you were about being the happiest city in America that we're playing, right? So tell us about those words. Then, and the one I can't, it begins with an M. What is that? What am I? There's a festival, right? You don't say just say festival,
Yeah,
it's festival. What is the one with
right.
the M? What's the M word?
Manger, which is
Manger. What is
to
that?
to eat to eat,
To eat.
and
Okay. Manger.
manger.
We're good.
So we have
Good. Good.
opportunities to manger here in our region, and talked about the great jambalaya, crawfish etouffee, gumbo, and our gumbo is a little different from something you might get in New Orleans. It's New Orleans. You'll find maybe like a tomato based a roux and gumbo, but ours is a little different, and every region is just a little bit different. But I will tell you, all the awards we've gotten around our food, there's plenty of opportunities to manger, and we invite all your listeners to come do that with us here in the Lafayette region.
This is my new word of the day. You know that now. I'm going to be saying
That's good.
manger everywhere. It's like, what are
Manger.
you mangering today? I don't. But no, see, this is the thing about Louisiana. Like Natchitoches has the meat pie, like Southwest, like Lake Charles has boudin. But I heard that the Boudin Wars and the Boudin Trail does extend towards your region on the way to New Orleans. Because I got to think, everyone, so like New Orleans, it's at the base and the southeast corner kind of Louisiana, then Lafayette, and then Lake Charles on the southwest corner. So you're kind of sitting in the middle, which means like definitely when you talked about being a hub and you've got the university, and that's by the way, my friends are all went to university there, and that's why they call it Laffy. We're going to Laffy Town. Um, and they're
Yeah,
they're
I'm
all
glad you
happy
mentioned
and
that.
smiling. Yeah.
Home of the Raging Cajuns, the
Yeah.
University of Louisiana, and last year we were ranked 15th in the country in
Wow.
football. But we just became research R1 research university, which is a huge um, ranking for universities, and that puts us in very elite company. And so we're certainly proud of all that our university does for our community. Such a great economic driver. But as you mentioned, our location is really centrally located, uh, 2 hours west of New Orleans, an hour from Lake Charles, 3 hours from Houston, 3 hours from Shreveport. So we sit at the intersection of Interstate 10 and I-49, and all up and down Interstate 10, headed into Lafayette. We actually had the first Cajun Boudin Trail, and along that route in
Oh.
Scott is known as the Boudin capital of the world, and they host every year a Boudin festival in April, which is really a unique opportunity to hear some of the music, but also try all sorts of types of different Boudin. And then actually this weekend will be which is prior to us taping this conversation, but we have a Boudin cook-off downtown Lafayette, and now they added bacon, so it'll be a Boudin and
Ooh.
bacon
Are
cook-off.
you kidding me? And everyone,
And
listen,
so,
Boudin. We just did a special Sausage Day show. You can, if you go on blendradioandtv.com, just type in Sausage Day and you'll find it. And you'll see our friend Jeff Benoit. I did want to say Benoit, but it's Benoit in Sulphur, Louisiana. So he's a little further away from, but he said this Boudin Trail and Wars, like it's a big deal. We filmed him making boudin, and I want people to understand what boudin is. It's rice, and it's like it's a big sausage that could be sausage balls, it could be sausage, it could be whatever you want it to be. But this is like, when you he's always tells us like salespeople travel and listen. Some of the best food you can get in Louisiana isn't a gas station. I'm just saying, and
right.
it's
Yeah,
true. And he goes like, if you're a salesperson In other parts of the country, you go and take your donuts. But in Louisiana in the South, you bring boudin. And if you don't bring boudin, you ain't getting the sale. And so
That's
this has
right.
got rice and spices and different meats and stuff, but isn't that true? Ben, there's no deal without the boudin.
Yeah, you did a wonderful job describing it, and it's really interesting how it's evolved over the years. We actually had for Mardi Gras several years ago, one of our local bakeries called Twins did a boudin king cake, and when I tell you
No
those
way.
things sold off the shelf, and they were mailing them all over the country, unbelievable. But you got boudin balls, you have, of course, your traditional facing, but even some people are experimenting with cauliflower boudin, which I'm not a big fan of, and
What?
seafood
No,
boudin.
that's too
So
healthy.
some things aren't made to be healthy,
No,
and
yeah,
boudin
like if you
is one
cannot
of
do
them.
vegan, you can't do vegan boudin. I don't think that's going to work in Louisiana for some
That's
reason.
right.
Like I don't think so. Not
That's right.
being rude to vegans because there's nothing wrong with being vegan, but boudin is not meant to be that. Nor don't put no. But boudin, I mean, it's interesting because from what I learned, your area has a lot of rice. I mean, am I unless it stops short of your area, but rice
What? No,
is a
yeah,
huge
yeah,
thing, and sugar, and you got rum near you. Bayou rum is near you, and we love Bayou rum. Like I could move
yeah.
there.
Yeah, and Crowley, which is in Acadia Parish, is actually known as the rice capital of the world. They have a rice festival every fall. It's a big deal, and so yeah, all these farming is really big in the rural areas, and so a lot of those ingredients are used obviously in the food, but also as you mentioned now in the rum making business and so much more. And so and then actually those rice fields are then used many times to harvest the crawfish because they have different seasons. So they our people, when they arrived here, really did a obviously like most areas you have to live off the land, and so they did done a great job of that, and it's
Mm.
reflected in so many of our cultures. And I hadn't really talked about a boucherie, but that's a really unique experience you can have down here where start all the way from killing of the pig and sounds like it could be a mean or a negative thing, but when it started historically, it was a really great way of making sure that they used every ounce of the pig and that nothing was wasted. And so every
Ooh,
single piece of that pig when they kill it, where you get your boudin, you get your pork, obviously,
hog head
you get
cheese.
your hog head cheese, every single piece of the boudin, I mean of the pig was used and not wasted. And so
Mm.
there's so many different cultures like that we have in our area that live on through the day, and really our younger generation is doing a great job of making sure that those things keep on. We have a lot of great young musicians who are now singing in French and carrying on traditions, and of course, young chefs working their way up and all of our great Cajun and
I,
Creole traditions alive.
I love it. I remember when you first came on our show, Anthony Bourdain's show on Lafayette had just aired, and then he had passed. I think it was his last
Yes,
show. And I
certainly.
remember it was still just when you came on the show, I was still like, I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna cry on your show, because it was so, he really showed just this, he did such an amazing job of showing I think he just really showed not just Lafayette, but he really showed Louisiana through the lens of Lafayette, of the cultures. And,
Yes.
we just had I was gonna say, I think it was back in spring, Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser was on the show, and he was talking about the initiatives that they're trying to really push in the state for tourism is that the restaurants really stay true and authentic in regards to using crawfish and everything that comes from the state, oysters.
Right.
Do what you can, even though, there's natural disasters that have messed with things, but to do that, and even during COVID, I mean, you guys had the parades with, the floats for Louisiana and the Macy Parade and over in the Rose Bowl. And he said that also, like going through that, like to get Louisiana, like, hey, we're here. And just there's a sense of camaraderie, pride. We're going to get through this resiliency of Louisiana, and I think it's because you guys are happy and you do eat good food, and you play amazing music. But he also said there's this huge initiative to really for the actual government, of Louisiana to pay back in, so that if an establishment uses, or festivals use local musicians, they help pay back into it, which is something you don't really hear that much of in the rest of the country. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no,
Is
absolutely.
this
And
something that
we
helps you guys be authentic? I mean, we're talking about that authentic experience, but I think you guys are really not you're at the top of the, like I said that about this state is at the top of the list of, like, we're not gonna not be, we're not bringing our oysters in from California or something, you know.
No, and actually, there's been so many initiatives to what you're discussing. We have so many great natural resources. Obviously, you think of natural resources and things like oil production,
Hmm.
but also as you mentioned, in our food. So the crawfish, the seafood that comes from the Gulf. We're just about an hour and 15 minutes from the Gulf here in Lafayette, although we're not on the coast. But our officials have done a great job of making sure that we utilize those resources. And just a couple examples, in addition to what you mentioned, so we had a bill passed in the legislature that if anybody wants to use crawfish, because a lot of times, some crawfish can be shipped in from other parts of the world,
Hmm.
but it's not not authentic to our area. So you have to actually post on your restaurant where your crawfish are from, where your shrimp are from, to ensure that if you are
Wow.
using shrimp not from our crawfish not from our area, that people know that. And so those sort of initiatives, the lieutenant governor has done a great job with the seafood promotion board, and so many events throughout the year, they allow the festivals or the events to use Louisiana seafood at no cost to the organizer, but at the cost of the state, to make sure that we continue to promote our great natural resource in our seafood, and they've done a wonderful job of that.
That's amazing to me. And that's something, I know we're talking about visiting, but I think for us as travelers, these are things that we should be aware of and support, and help the restaurant owners, because it's not cheap to do that half the time. It's not
Right.
always easy, and we think, oh, well, it's got to be cheaper, it's just at your doorbell. It's about things being hands-on, local, small business, which is never, it's just never as cheap, right? Or easy. And just looking at the farming, you want to have something, the authentic experience. We're going to just keep using that word, right? But it is going to
Well,
cost money and time. And if you really want those to experience, it's not Disneyland. You know what I mean? This is the real deal. It's not, we don't, I mean, I'm not knocking Disneyland. That's fun.
no.
But you want it to be that, you don't need to put a mask on unless you're in Mardi Gras. You know?
Yeah, I mean, look, you do such a great job talking about our area, and you're absolutely right. And I will tell you, we were farm to table way before farm to table was cool,
Right.
and popular. It doesn't get much more farm to the table than a crawfish coming out of a pond onto your plate, or rice being made and
Mm.
harvested, or sugar cane, or the seafood. I mean, that's farm to table at its core, and we've been doing that for a long, long time before it was cool, and we will continue to do that. And it's so important, as you mentioned, to support our local businesses. We run a campaign in the summertime called Eat Lafayette. We have over 100 locally owned restaurants that participate. It started with a 2-week campaign and 18 restaurants 18 years ago, and now it's grown to a 3-month campaign and over 100 locally owned restaurants that participate. And it's all about promoting and bringing awareness to our locally owned restaurants
I love
that
it.
every summer, and really encourage people to support those locally owned restaurants. And that's not a knock on chains. Chains are very important. They bring a lot of economical
Yeah.
benefit to our area in terms of jobs. But as we say all the time, there's only one Charlie G's, there's only one Cafe Vermilionville, there's only one Judy's Inn, and we could go on in the world. And whereas places like Chili's and Applebee's, well, you can find that in any town in America. So it's always important that we promote our locally owned restaurants, and I think we do a good job of doing that. And nothing disappoints me more than when we have somebody visit and they go eat at a chain restaurant, and it just boggles my mind is why in the world would you come to Lafayette, Louisiana, and go eat at a chain that you could eat at in any city in America? And
Yeah.
so we really have made a conscious effort to continue to highlight those locally owned
I
restaurants
mean,
and
you
make
could
sure
go
that
anywhere and get a po' boy too. Like, listen, let's not knock the po' boy because the po' boy, like, you could just get that anywhere and at least have that taste. If you're hurrying through, that's the thing, I think, because you're like the beauty of your location is also people, stop and go get that po' boy at the gas station or that boudin, because that's the thing. It's if you don't have a lot of time, so we always go to those chains because that's what we know. So we're creatures of comfort, and the chains are good for that. It's the same thing as conferences, right? You go to the chain
right,
hotel for the conferences. However, book that extra night or two at a bed and breakfast or an independent hotel too, because that's where some of your real authentic experiences happen. But I will say, I have seen some of the chains step up and start to put more local artwork in and get a little bit more low. I think they're learning, to do more of that, which is great to see because I think we've got to, and you've got to also remember some of those chains are owned by locals too. So there's
right.
that, there that's the truth. Franchises are owned by local people most of the time, but if you want that authentic taste and stay, what are your hotels like? Are they mostly chains? Do you have bed and breakfast? I know Airbnbs are going crazy across the country. What's your
Sure.
makeup?
I think we have a nice mix. We do, of course, like every destination, have a lot of different chains, but we also have a lot of bed and breakfast and a couple of different former like plantation homes that have been converted into B&Bs, like the Mouton plantation, which is very popular. And we find particularly the international guests want to experience a B&B or a little more authentic place to stay, and so we see a lot of that. We do have our share of Airbnbs and a few
Mm.
hotels, one downtown. So I think we have a nice mix, but all very affordable uh, price.
Very cool. That's nice. And well, we're gonna come see you. It's gonna have to happen this coming year.
Yes,
Nancy and I will come out.
come on.
We're gonna be doing a lot in the central like corridor um of the country and like I mean we heard about your region, Bow Bridge in specific, from a really dear friend of ours who's long passed. But we had planned this, and then he passed away, elder. And he kept saying, "You don't know this country until you go there, and whatever you think about this country, you've got to go there," because he knew we lived, in Africa and all the different countries. And when we got to the States, some of the places felt a little bit built up for us personally coming home to the States. And he's like, "Well, you got to go to Louisiana. You girls belong there. You got to go there. And this is where you need to go." And he just kept talking about because of the music and the food and the atmosphere of fun. And it was just about that. He said, there is nothing like it. And he didn't, he's been to New Orleans everywhere, but he's like, that is the place you go to just, you can walk in a restaurant, a bar, whatever, and just, you really can just get up and dance on your own if you want. And no one's going to look at you like you're weird. You're just having a good time. Having fun is celebrated. And you can eat, you can have your Bloody Mary whenever you want it. And you can have your Zydeco breakfast. You can have a good time. And he just said that was he retired in Mexico, but he said if he was going to stay in this country, that
Yep.
would be it because of that
Yeah.
fun atmosphere.
It really is like going to a different country, but you're still in the United States, and you're still
Yeah. Cool. All
not
right. Well,
having to.
everybody, let's all meet each other. Everyone, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. LafayetteTravel.com is the website to go to. And by the way, everybody, it's Ben Berthelot, not Berthelo, but Ben Berthelot. So thank you so much, Ben, for joining us again here on our Big Blend Radio Show with the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association. Again, their website is IFW TWA.org. And we do this every second Tuesday here on Big Blend Radio. And every second Friday, we chat with travel writers across the country and hear about their travels around the country and around the world. And it's just so cool. We love the second week because, you know, it's just travel talk and it makes us very hungry and makes now I want to go play some Cajun music. Is that okay? I think it is.
Absolutely. We have a great playlist on Spotify, so check that out. And thank you so much for having us. We always say if we get people here for the first time, we have them hooked. And so opportunities like this help us to expose our area to the rest of the world, and we can't thank you enough for having us.
Oh, thank you, Ben. We'll see you when we get there. And listen, I want to see those gators, right? And I heard that you got good bird watching too, so I'm in.
We do. We do.
Cool.
We look forward to having you.
Thanks, Ben.
Take care. All right. Bye-bye.